How you doing? This is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh, and I watched Milo Yiannopoulos' video in Orlando. He said exactly what has to be said, that gays shouldn't take it anymore. Gays should be following Trump because the Democratic Party has not protected them, nor have they protected the country very well. And they're being singled out. A Muslim cleric in Florida called for a jihad against homosexuality. This is not what you do in America. Now, I looked up, is hate speech protected by the First Amendment? Apparently it is, but maybe we need to amend the First Amendment, because 100 years ago that kind of stuff be fighting words, not against gays necessarily, but if you said it against somebody else, calling someone the N-word or a bastard or something similar, it'd be considered fighting words. You could beat the hell out of a guy and wouldn't be charged for it. And I want to know another thing. What's Google doing? I looked up the guy named Milo, because I couldn't remember his last name and I can barely pronounce it, who sells shirts and talks on YouTube. And it said, we're checking your browser, and it waited 5 seconds before it went to his homepage. What the hell does Google have to check my browser for when I want to look up a guy whose videos I've seen on YouTube? They delayed it. So is Google deliberately trying to stop this guy from being seen or read about? Just like Muslims crashed his Twitter page and Matt Drudge gave Twitter a bunch of crap and they put it back up because Muslims just spammed him to death. So, I don't know what's going on here, but he's a conservative gay, a Catholic gay, which surprised me. I didn't know there were that many Catholic gays running around, but I've been in a lot of touch with the Catholic Church for about 50 years. Vatican I, it's the last time I paid attention, even though my dad was Catholic. But he also said that the church has protected gays, allowed them to become clergymen, and sheltered them. I didn't know that either. If it's true, it's interesting. So my question is, why is Google putting a 5-second delay before going to his page? Why? I typed his name in, and I even had trouble getting a picture of him right away on Google in Firefox. So, I'm wondering if Google is trying to block this guy. And we've already heard about Facebook's editors blocking conservative commentary, and they've removed entire pages about jihad and radical Islam. So we have people that are targeting Americans for their sexuality, and there is one thing I would like to say. I do wish the gay community would get it right. Not all the victims at Pulse Orlando were gay. There's a mother of 11. She died protecting her kids. She yelled them to run for your lives, and because she did that, she got shot in the back twice and died. And I don't think she was gay, but I'm sure there were other people in there that weren't gay either that got shot. And some may not have died. They haven't listed a full list of who's died and who's in the hospital. Maybe they're trying to protect the living victims. I don't know. But I don't think everybody in that club was gay, because straights go to gay clubs too to have fun and go out with their friends. And this bastard who shot all those people, they're now saying he was a closeted gay and had self-loathing. We have self-loathing Jews in the Jewish community who hate Jewry and who hate Israel. So in a way it's no different. But most self-loathing Jews don't go out to a club and blow people away with a not automatic weapon. So this is what I'm wondering tonight. What's going on here? Is there censorship of someone who criticizes radical Islam and radical Muslim and ISIS? And Milo mentioned the fact that Christians are being murdered in ISIS-held territories. So are gays. He even mentioned an entire village got wiped out. So, and those were a village of Jews, and they were killed. man, woman, and child. This is what we're fighting against. Hatred, intolerance, bigotry. It doesn't matter who they're bigoted against. And then one other thing, I saw British broadcasting say that Trump said about dancing Muslims that he saw them on 9/11 with no proof. I provided the proof in a video. The Washington Post said on September 18th, dancing Muslims were arrested in Paterson, New Jersey by the police and taken away for questioning. That thing dropped off the radar. I got inboxes saying they were seen in Montreal, New Orleans, New York. I saw cheering school kids in New York, cheering the downfall of Twin Towers. And then they said that Trump has said that Mexicans are rapists. Well, I hate to tell you this, BBC, but some Mexican illegals have raped women. They've also killed them, and they've killed men. They're called illegal alien murderers. It doesn't mean all Mexicans that come to this country are murderers. It means that some Mexicans are murderers and rapists. So get it right, BBC. I'm tired of reading this stuff where they say Trump is evil, and it's not true. And they said that some might find... Let me find the exact quote here. Just a minute. I've got it on my screen. Here we go. Mr. Trump has claimed variously Arab Americans cheered on 9/11 despite a lack of evidence. So we know that's a BS comment. A great wall should be built between the U.S. and Mexico. And they said here, the First Amendment right to freedom of speech under the U.S. Constitution permits Donald Trump to make claims and proposals that others might deem unacceptable incitement. Who the hell is he exciting? Illegal aliens? Islamists? The Mexicans have a wall between their border and Guatemala, and they've got volunteers refurbishing the wall. But if we want to put one up, you're exciting somebody. There should be a mass deportation of illegal migrants in the U.S. Well, they're not migrant workers. They're illegal aliens. There's no migrant about it. They're immigrating to this country, but they're doing it illegally. And Muslims should be banned entering the U.S. solely on grounds of religion. Well, Trump has never said that. What he says is that if someone comes from a Muslim country, particularly countries that have a predominant number of terrorists or terrorist sympathizers, we should vet them. And we should build zones in those countries where those people can wait in a holding area until they're checked out and allowed to come into this country. And then you got people like George Clooney, who says we're not letting enough Syrians in. Hell, we're letting too many Syrians in because none of them are checked. And even a head of our FBI and Homeland Security says you can't vet these people. You can't check them out. Trump says we need to check them out. Now, I don't think that's an incitable term, wanting to protect America. And so that's what the BBC thinks. They're absolutely wrong. Trumpers never said keep them out because they're Muslim. He should keep them out to make sure they're not terrorists. And it's kind of a specious logic to act as if he's saying some terrorists are Muslims and therefore all Muslims are terrorists. He's not saying that at all. But he didn't want them in here. Let them stay home. And then God forbid they'll attack Brussels or Paris or Athens or London. We've seen enough of those jihadist attacks. Indonesia, Jakarta, Mumbai. We've seen terrorist attacks in Tokyo on the subway, not by Muslims, but with nerve gas. And beheadings by ISIS and beheadings in the Philippines. They just killed a Canadian. But the BBC has its head in the ground. They won't admit that the enemies of freedom are out there. The enemies of individual right to do what you want are out there. They'll stone women for saying something against Islam. They'll stone women for having a relationship outside of marriage. They put clamps on women who breastfeed their babies in public. That's horrible. It's a war against women and a war against sexuality and a war against motherhood. But all of that gets ignored by the leftist media, and the BBC is one of the biggest leftist medias out there. They love Muslims and radical Islam because they won't tell the truth. So they spin the thing to make Trump look bad and everybody else look good. And the one subject you can't talk about in this country, it's almost taboo, is criticizing radical Islamists, whether they're homegrown or they come from overseas. And that's wrong, because we have enemies. Not only America, but Western culture has enemies. And maybe one day some of these idiots will realize that. But I don't think so, with 85% of the White House press corps admitting they're Democrats. It ain't going to happen anytime soon. All right. That's what I got to say. This is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh. Have a great morning, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.